We all have our traditional ways of communicating. We're all using email and probably overwhelmed by it at times. I know I certainly am. We get on the phone. We can do conferences on the phone. We use technology like we're using today. We have face-to-face meetings. These are kind of our traditional ways of operating. But they pose challenges when you've got a multitude of people involved in a collective impact venture. So imagine all the emails you'll get about your collective impact work, and every time you get one, they go further and further into your inbox and harder to find. So some of the challenges, or some of the considerations to give to how do we create a continuous communications effort would be, should there be a clearinghouse somewhere of key documents that shows some of the history of the plans. It doesn't have to show all of the data that you may and emails that you may have gotten. But what are those key documents, and where would we place them so that people can access them easily? Both current members, but also new folks. So, for example, should there be an online place for that clearinghouse? Might it be a wiki site where you can upload documents and download documents? You can actually attach some collaborative functions to a wiki site, including groups where you can actually have a conversation or ask a question, keep contact information that's kept up to date in real time. Wikis are quite an excellent tool for collaborative work. Or you might want to use different applications. I'm not pitching a particular one, but applications like Yammer, which I'm testing out right now with Tamarack staff, is a collaborative tool around working together on projects. Basecamp is another I'm familiar with. Maybe you are too. Ways of working together and keeping the outputs and the important information around the work we're doing in a central place. And then in terms of informal communication, that's what we might use social media for. So not just to keep people up to date, give them a link where they can go read the latest news article or posting around the work we're doing, but also to use it as a way of just connecting with the public and trying to generate interest and support for what we're doing, whether it's through Twitter or Facebook or other tools. In terms of addressing difficult issues, my recommendation for any roundtable that's actually looking into tackling major challenges around systems change or big issues that need to be addressed is to pay attention to some shared learning around how do we actually engage with one another around difficult topics. And so it's probably advisable to include in the learning with the roundtable and others, how do you actually engage in dialogue around a particular issue or challenge without always getting positional about it? How do we have generative conversations that help us understand one another before we're just trying to move so quickly to agreements and decisions? Understanding one another doesn't mean we have to always agree, but we can't really make good decisions if we don't understand. So I think continuous communication in a collective impact effort requires some ongoing learning and also facilitation of different ways of talking together and working with different challenges. The only thing I want to mention about continuous communication is that actually is important during the preconditions too, because during the preconditions it's probably a smaller group of people that are working together, but they need to be in communicating with each other in the same ways that the collective impact roundtable, for example, would need to work together. So this is, in a sense, some fairly straightforward communications concepts around how do you communicate well. Who are you targeting? What's the message they need to hear, you want them to hear, and what's the outcome you want to achieve? And so think about the different audiences. There's funders, there's participants, participating agencies, there's various publics, including perhaps folks with lived experience. There's traditional media that might be your target, and again, there's social media. And ask yourself, when you're using social media, are you trying to inform people? Are you trying to create a dialogue? Are you trying to advocate for something, or all three? But to really come up with a way of looking at who your audiences are and the messages are, and then how will you have continuous and appropriate communications with them in clear and yet concise ways.